Hiya, you alright? It's time for some proper sculpting now. I'm excited about this. We're going to take it nice and easy, nice and slow, nothing to worry about. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create the initial block out of the face. We'll use the grid a fair bit to help us find proportions, and we'll introduce the clay strips brush to help us get there. This is going to be fun. First thing we're going to do, same as the previous tutorials, is just change our reference meshes over here. Bring out shape 4 and you can see what we're going to do. We're just going to work on the head, nothing else, just the head. This is a key point in the tutorial series though. If you follow my instruction, it's going to be relatively painless. So let's crack on. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the head, come into sculpt mode, and then press Shift R to bring up my grid because we're going to remesh this now. And I want to remesh it to about 0.03. Something like that should do it. I think. Press Ctrl R, and that looks alright to me. Not too high poly, nice and low. That's what we want for this stage of the sculpt. Turn off wireframe. Now there's quite a few different proportions that we want to follow here, and we're going to rely quite heavily on the grid. So what I want to do is just turn this subdivisions up to 2. Now the first thing we're going to find is the brow line. Now can you see this red line here? That indicates our x-axis, but it also shows us where the center line is. Now find this red line, just go 2 squares up, and that's where our brow line is going to be. You can actually change the grid on here as well, so that you can see that 2 squares up is where our brow line is. I'll do it for this one as well. 2 squares up, we have the brow line. So to create that, I'm going to get my Draw Sharp brush out. I could have just used the quick favourites, don't forget, Draw Sharp. I'm going to make sure Stabilize Stroke is still on, yes. And I want to keep it within these lines that you can see here, these first lines here, okay? So 2 squares up, this line, just make a line across like that. There's our brow line, done, nice and easy. Okay, now I'm going to hit 3 for side view. What we're going to do, we're going to start from this brow line and come down to our cheek here. But where are we going to meet our cheek? Well, if you look at the reference, we meet around here, which is about 2 squares away from the center line. Now this is quite a bit wider than where you would do it if you was creating a realistic head, but stylized characters have a tendency to have quite large eyes. So there's our center line, the blue line for the z-axis. 2 squares in, follow it down. Want to meet it around here. So I'll just make a mental note of that and make my stroke like that. So this is what we've got. And can you see this area that we've created? So we've got these 2 triangles on either side, and this area that goes down to the chin here. That's the only area that we're going to work in. Anything out of that is none of our business for this tutorial. So what I'm going to do now is jump into a front view, right? And I'm going to bring out a new brush, the Clay Strips brush. I'll just give you a quick demo of what this does actually. So without control, you're laying on strips of clay. Genius. All right, and if you hold control, obviously you do the invert. Now that's looking a little bit strong to me, so I'm going to turn the strength down with Shift F to about 0.4. Come back into my front view. I'm going to hold control so that I'm curving in, and for now I'm actually just going to stick to the upper half of our shape. So if you look at the reference, the bottom of the nose is sort of in line with the bottom of the ears. So if we follow the ears, let me just turn the brush size down a little bit. I'll make a mark like that. I'm just going to carve in. I'm going to leave space for the nose though, like that. And for this bottom section, I just want to do the outside of it like that. It's a bit strong actually. I'll just undo that, and because what you'll find with the mouth is that you want to leave a sort of a mound there. If you look at this side view, notice how there's quite a bit of a mound going on there. And it's just occurred to me that I don't think the camera angle is correct on these views. No, I'll change that to 85. Let's bring that back to a side view. Oh yeah, so the point I was making is that you want to leave space for the mouth and space for the nose, but we're not doing anything drastic here. Just carving in this space. I turn the strength down on the Clay Strips brush to about 0.17. That's plenty, that, you know. You want to be moving as slowly as you can. You also want to keep an eye on this 3/4 view. So if I turn this, notice how we have this really nice shape down the 3/4. And the way we get this nice edge like this is if I get my draw sharp brush, starting from the middle of this eye, I'm going to turn my stabilize stroke. I won't turn it off, I'll just turn it down. If I start from the middle here and just follow that round just slightly above the cheekbone, like that. And then with clear strips, I'll just carve a bit more of this away. You can see how that shape is starting to take form a little bit. Actually adding some back in there. Before I go too far with that, I'm going to come back to a front view, press G for my grab brush, and I'm going to push in this keystone shape for the glabella here, which is about, looking at the grid, 1 square down. So about here, we have this turning point. And then this tip of the nose might be a bit easier from a side view, this actually. So we're going 1 square, 2 squares, and then about halfway down. So 1, 2, roughly in place, just bring that out. Now I'm looking how this curves down. This needs to come in because from the tip, this is sort of a 1.5 squares in, like that. And then we want to round out this mouth. Let's just check the chin's in the right place. Okay, it looks reasonably okay. Just try and get this to match the reference best you can. Spend a bit of time underneath the model and in 3/4 view, don't forget. Keep things nice and slow. You don't want to rush anything here, especially this. This is the step I would say take the most amount of time. Now I know I said we're just going to stick into that shape, but I do just want to smooth above here just to push it in. In fact, scrape might be a better brush to use just to plane this in. You actually want a little bit of a ledge for this cheekbone. That's what you want to be left with. You can see that from the reference. It's like a little ledge. Don't forget to keep rotating around the model all the time. Make small movements. If you notice any issues, fix them. I'm noticing we don't have much of a gap behind this jaw anymore. Try and keep your eye moving around the model as much as you can. Try and retain these obvious plane changes. In fact, what you can do, what I quite often do, is get a draw sharp. When you're about this point, the shape's looking reasonably okay. Just come through and really emphasize these plane changes. I'm holding control here so that they're really obvious. I'm just going to do some at the side of the nose here because there's actually a plane at the sides of your nose and underneath too. Something like that. Now what I could try and do, I haven't actually used this much, but I'll give it a try, is under mesh filter, come up to the tool settings, and then under filter type, try sharpen. See what happens. That was a bit too heavy, but I'll just try that again, a bit softer. That really emphasizes those lines for you. Maybe a little bit too much, so I'm going to come through with a smooth, just turn it down, just smooth it a little bit. Check it from above. Do you know what? From above, you'd want to check. This actually curves outwards like this. So at the minute, this is coming straight to the side. But what you're going to want is to pull these out a little bit. Make way for those cheekbones. Zygomatics. You should start to get a sense of a skull underneath here. We're not sculpting a skull, obviously. But it's not quite the head either. It's kind of an in-between shape. Come to a side view, just check everything's looking all right. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy with that. That looks pretty decent, I think. So what I'm going to do, again, is just add a shrink wrap modifier. Select the reference head over here. And see what sort of differences we have. Okay, so it seems like the brow line is a little bit higher in the reference, and perhaps this is a bit higher, comes a bit further back. Now what I could do is keep looking at that and then jump back into trying to sculpt it myself without relying on this too much. But eventually you want to end up with something that looks like this. And that's shape 4 complete. Now I know we got through that one a bit quicker than the others, but I think you might find it a bit more challenging, so do take your time with this. Try not to get frustrated if you don't get it right at first, just reset back to the start of the exercise and try again. Remember to use the shrink wrap to check your mistakes. And I'll see you for shape 5.